Previously on Philippines
Welcome
in
to
Full
Heru
Effect.
Farm de Bingawan.
I understand that, but more so, I guess, when you moved to New York.
But it's interesting that you are calling it hustle culture because we've always been, in because I grew up in the hip hop era, so they always respect the grind.
Yeah,
You gotta
respect the
hustle. If
grind,
you hustle,
yeah.
you don't shine.
Yeah,
All of
yeah,
that
yeah.
crap,
Yeah.
really is a way of disconnecting you from a human being in the presence of being present when you're
Exactly.
doing things.
Yeah.
Like I was saying to them, if you go there and you smile at people, it's a problem. Smiling
Even
is a
if you
problem.
say hi.
It's like a
Smiling is
threat.
It's a threat.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Philippines in Full Effect. We are so happy that we are here at the Heru Farm with our friends. They've invited us over, and it has been an experience and an adventure. So, yep, we're here.
And I like to say this is a very unique situation because you meet a lot of guys coming in from other parts of the world, and generally they are settling in cities and more populated areas. But here we have something completely different, I think, and unique. That this brother here is out in the middle of a countryside and is building a very unique compound. So we'll have them introduce themselves and where they're from, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you, Stephen, for that wonderful introduction. My name is Katwy Heru. I am the inspired visionary behind the Heru Farm de Bingawan. And sitting here to my immediate right, your left, is the beautiful Mariafe Villanueva Heru, my
Hello.
wife. So I'll just talk a little bit about the project, what we're doing here. Here at Heru Farm de Bingawan, we're seeking to be a premier ecotourism site, as well as, I want to say, a catalyst for sustainable agriculture and development here in the Philippines, utilizing a sustainable development tool like organic agriculture, kind of as a fulcrum point. And we have settled here, of course, outside of the major urban areas because we just found, for the sake of the price point and also for the sake of being able to get back to nature and really experience what I call a multiplier effect and a beneficial experience, interacting with nature in a way that allows it to be healing and allows us to be in a space where we're developing and growing, and also we're giving back. So the focus was to build kind of a community-inspired space where we could, over time, offer training and modalities around sustainable livelihood development, and then to also allow that space to be co-creative with the communities we're in, so we're not coming in as like folks that are telling folks how to do things. We're doing things in tandem with them. So our first big project here was developing our 329 square meter vermicomposting facility that we were able to develop through a grant from the Department of Agriculture that also was given vis-a-vis the World Bank. So we finished that around 2017. And since that time, we have started to move more into the ecotourism aspect of what we're doing. All of this stuff did not come to me as some visionary type of thing that was kind of out of the sky. I was pursuing an education, and I am still struggling to pursue an education at Central Philippine University in their Doctorate of Management program. And so I developed a feasibility study in conjunction with some folks there. And from that feasibility study, we were able to create an actual proposed project through the Department of Agriculture here in the Philippines after networking around. And we were able to get the grant. It wasn't 90 days. It was quite the experience, and it continues to be. But it really was a phenomenal opportunity for me. And I am not a native, as you can see, Filipino here. I am a New Yorker by birth and by blood, but I am now here in the Philippines making dreams come true for my family and myself, and hopefully by extension others.
Is this something that you really wanted to pursue? Is this a passion? Is this a vision that you'd really stay here and be in the Philippines?
Great question. So the easy answer to that question is yes. When I moved here to the Philippines, I can't say that I had all of this as a vision to operate from.
Yeah.
I did know that moving here that I would have to kind of shed some of my belief systems around what it should be and become more open to the fullness of the experience of what could exist here as a possibility beyond myself. Now, I know that sounds like a mouthful, but really what I'm saying here is that, you know, I kind of, once I got on the ground here and Mariafe and I began to go around, and I almost feel like we were led around in a way because I was struggling to find good, organic, healthy food. And you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You gotta have shelter. Then you gotta have food. Then you have these four other components in order to have an abundant life. Well, the food piece was big for me.
Yeah.
And so then I saw that there was all this wonderful, you know, nature picturesque stuff that you could have, but I didn't have control over where it was coming from. I didn't know how healthy it was. I found that I couldn't eat out a lot because I'm not sure what they put in the food. And that started me on the track for looking for organic agriculture. Why organic agriculture? Because in New York, for over 20 some odd years, I was a vegetarian. I quite frankly took it for granted because it was a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it is a lifestyle, right? So I had to come here and develop where that lifestyle was or find where that lifestyle was. And then these other things started to come into play as a result.
What brought you here? You said you've been here since 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Was it really for education? Because you said you wanted the PhD. So was it really for that, or?
Actually, it was for love. I mean,
Okay,
let's
let's
just
get on
bottom
that.
line it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Get on
All
that.
right.
I came here for this beautiful woman who said some phenomenal things to me and didn't just talk the talk, she walked the talk, right?
Okay.
And so when I came here, the kind of environment that I came into made me begin to just like forget about, I won't say forget about, but just shift my belief system for what was possible in a relationship with someone who could be a partner to you in the truest sense. Now, I know that sounds cliche.
No.
I know it sounds cliche. And I say that humbly because here I just found that it was okay to be naturally who I was without trying to fit into a small box that was discomfort and that was really not resonating from the space of who I am, right? And so when me and Mariafe hooked up, it wasn't easy for her, quite frankly, because I was coming here quite miserable. I mean, I'll be honest, you know, and I was so angry I didn't know I was angry, right? Because what I found is that coming from an aggressive space, and I love my hometown, but coming from an aggressive space like New York, where they claim it is dog eat dog, so many things become given to you just for survival. And I used to say I had done everything that I needed to do to have an abundant life because I had to there, but I was not flourishing. I was barely surviving, even with the job and the 9 to 5 and the hustle and bustle. But when I got here, all of those things became gifts. The gift of gab, the gift of networking, some gift of being visionary, flexibility, even though I was still inflexible, right? I still had standards.
Yeah.
But the flexibility of going just because it's different than the way you're doing it doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yes, that's
It's
true.
just different.
Yeah.
It can be the same difference. And so that piece is really what helped me kind of survive here. And quite frankly, I couldn't have done it without the love and support of a beautiful person and a beautiful family.
So how did you meet Mariafe? How did y'all come together?
I'm
Because
going to
I
let
know
her
this is gonna
take
be
this
asked.
story.
my story too. Because
Well,
you
just
know,
the story
we
be short, because I know this is coming, right? So, all right,
Maria Fistel.
yeah. So when I was working in Manila, I used to be a, let's say, an encoder in an American company. He used to be my boss because he come and go for some trainings in our job. So he come and go. He is our boss. He trained us,
Fully platonic.
and
Disclaimer,
then
fully platonic.
and then later on, I become the boss. So that's the start of it. It's actually the work
That's
we
some
have.
twists and turns because I thought it was, well, I met her online and whatever. You were actually traveling here for business. Yeah, for work, and y'all met that way. This story is unique from the top on down.
New Yorkers have a mentality wherever you come from in the world to get there, that Frank Sinatra piece. If I can make it here, I'm going to make it anywhere. I realized while I was born in New York, I am not a native New Yorker because I never saw myself in the paradigm of if this is not the center of the universe and I can get it done here, I'm not going anywhere else. Obviously. My mom's generation were native New Yorkers because they came there, right? Dating myself. They were like the Stevie Wonder types, right? Remember that song? Living just enough for the city?
Yeah.
He gets off the bus.
That was
Backwoods. Who was that? I don't even know who that was.
song, that was Stevie Wonder. That song as a kid, because I was growing up in New Orleans. I was in New Orleans at the time. That had me fearing New York,
Yeah,
man.
but it speaks volumes
Yeah, it does. It does.
to what kind of mentality you develop. I'm sorry.
Or how hard.
Or how hard it is
Yeah.
to make it in that space. So, with all due respect to what Mariafe is saying, I would miss the forest for the trees on that because you still get that acculturation coming out of that environment.
Yeah.
Now, here's the other part that I didn't realize. People do not leave New York. So that proved to me that I'm not a native New Yorker.
Okay.
There's something imprinted in the DNA. Well, maybe that's overstating it. Where they're like, I was trying to get my mom out of there. She would not go. She said she was going to go. She came and visited here. She was able to get my dad out. He's fine. But my mom? No, man, there's something that's hard pressed. And the guy, actually, it's interesting that I'm wearing this bag, not that I'm promoting it. The guy that I got the bag from said this to me in 2019. He said, my man, native New Yorkers are not born, they're built. He said, when you meet them, they only think of a certain way in terms of where the world is and how they can develop themselves. And he said, they believe if they're there, they're going to make it there. And if not, they're going to die there. And when he said that to me, it was like he lifted a curtain. Because a lot of folks that I've spoken to from that area, they can't really see the world beyond it. You know? And so I didn't realize how much of a kind of a leap of faith I was making in doing the transition. Of course, I tested the waters. But I always felt like there's something more to this grind. It didn't feel fulfilled.
Do you remember your first impression of the Philippines, that very first time?
Oh my God, what have I done? Now, let me just say, when I got here, similar to your story earlier, it was dark. It had been raining.
And you landed in Manila, right?
Landed in
Okay,
Manila.
okay.
Landed in Manila. I'm not military. Because usually right off the back, you'll hear, hi, Joe. You'll hear some of that as you're walking down. Say, hey, Joe, where you in from? I'm like, Joe? Why are they calling me Joe? I'm Katwy from New York here. What are you talking about, right? And I guess the first feelings I had in being here, it was a fear, but not a fear. Because when, thick skin, New Yorkers, hey, come on, man, you can't run no game on me. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're not going to do that. But there was this kind of like very interesting because it is it is a homogenous society. I lose her in a crowd like that, even now. And she just will walk off from me. I'm a giant standing there looking. And so it felt like it was a sea of faces, but there was something about it that felt, I want to say, familiar, even though it was unfamiliar terrain. I never really felt really like, this was going to be a life. It felt life-changing, but it didn't feel life-threatening. And actually, it's never felt that. I didn't have that experience that I might have getting on the train or subway in New York. I love my city. At that first year, when I moved here, I kind of was looking over my shoulder. Then I realized it was me. That it really was me.
Yeah.
She would say it was me, but of course I'm dismissing that, right? But when I realized that, it really made a difference for me, So it quite frankly was like no other experience I'd had before, even though I'd been to other parts of Asia before. But here in the Philippines, there was some sense of familiar that was there.
So at what point did it feel like home to you?
Oh, wow, this is a great question. Gradually over time, what happened for me is that I had to let go of expectations I was having coming from the States here. And that was a process.
Yeah.
Now, that was one part. But the other part is the community that I relocated to was just so beautiful that it almost felt like a fairy tale. So in a minute, here's the thing. I kept wondering, am I really going to be able to do this? Even though I had the family and all that and had gone through stuff, there was always in the back of my mind, I need to have a plan C, D, E, F, and G. And I think that's hardwired in us. I don't know about you. My experience is
Military,
Native American.
man.
Yeah, man.
We have manuals for every situation.
Oh, my God. Just in case this goes south, what am I going to do? Because it just never felt like, for me, that it was going to be a cakewalk. And then I realized how much pressure I was putting on myself for that. I think that's what caused some of the initial health challenges for me. Just that pressure of, am I doing this right? No, this has got to be that way. And, she was great through all that. She would let me have my moments. Just leave me alone, whatever, because that really was the shedding of all of that other stuff. So to answer your question, I don't know exactly when it felt like home. I guess by the time when I got here, because 2012 is when I moved, 2015 is when I got here, walking through this to get this space, I was like, I'm not in Kansas anymore. What am I doing here? Then I was just like, this is home.
Yeah, just seeing mud. You're like,
Yeah,
what is this? What is this?
I
have
got
to
on
walk on.
sneakers. I had to take my sneakers off.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a gradual process. But I will say this, and I can say this unequivocally: home is where the heart is.
Yeah, that's true. You come here, I don't care what you're expecting, it's going to be different than
It's going to be absolutely.
it's going to be different than what you think it's going to be.
If you could have told me that I would be moving to the Philippines to become a farmer, I would have looked at you like you had lost your mind and grown 3 heads.
When we met and you told me you were a farmer, I was like, what?
What?
A New Yorker and a farmer? That don't even sound right.
Yeah.
I mean, like you were like, who's this
Did
guy
I slip and bump his head?
Who's with this guy with the lemonade? I'm like, who's this New Yorker
Yeah,
over there?
yeah,
A farmer,
yeah, yeah.
organic farmer,
Yeah,
holistic farmer. It's very, you just never know where you land when you
Yes.
get here. That's the thing about it. You never know what, and we still have futures. Things are still, there's things ahead that we don't even know we're going to be doing.
Absolutely.
So
You are already starting to cultivate the land and make this into an inland resort. So now that that's moving, and you're partnering up with the community and all of that. So what would be the future that you're looking at in this place? What's your vision now that you're really starting to, cultivate the ground?
Thank you for the question. It's a great question. So the vision that I'm operating from now is really a vision on how do we replicate this, but first systematize what we have
Yeah,
that
that's
exists.
important.
Okay. So as we look at this becoming a premier ecotourism space, the intention here is for this to be about wellness, lifestyle management, okay, and really a place of just coming to get your spirit infused in a different sort of way, right? So as we ground that, that will not be enough, I feel, just to sustain the space, right? That's really for the ecotourism aspect. But my whole give back here is to look at how we're developing high value commodities, crops, and how we can feed that into a quantifiable supply chain.
All right.
Because what's missing here in the Philippines that I've noticed in doing this work is logistics, right? Infrastructure development, cold storage and processing, and value chain improvement, which means you can get all of these wonderful high value crops here, but there's very few places you can take them to package them, to make sure that there's no loss in terms of the value of the crop and spoilage by refining it into other stuff, and finding out where a market is that's not just immediately accessible, but in other spaces. And that's what's, I feel, is the challenge towards the farmers actually moving from the subsistence farming to being like the farmers in the West where they're very well off, you know?
Yeah.
And so I kind of see myself playing a role there, a small role in that sort of way. So, because I recognize that the ecotourism piece may not be enough. It's not like we're 20 minutes from the city.
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean? So if people are going to do an investment to come here, they're going to invest some time and energy to come and actually be here. And even if we're offering trainings and stuff like that, that's one aspect of it. But I will feel like I've not succeeded if I haven't built a really robust supply chain and really taken some of the teachings that we've gotten here to other spaces for replication purposes.
Great. That's a lot, right?
Oh, sorry.
It's a big,
No, no,
it's
no,
a
that's-
big vision.
And to that end, boys and girls, gentlemen and ladies, we are going to be putting together a nice little one-pager for investment opportunities. So there's two prongs to that. There's one part if you invest in what we're trying to do from the wellness, lifestyle management, and health space. That's one piece you can get, and with that, you get to come and check out what we're doing. Because this is, for me, this whole thing has been about experience. If I sat here and thought of this in my room, it never would have happened. I had to physically be here in the space in order for the change to happen, right? Now, the other piece is a straight kind of commerce piece, right? So we can quantify the numbers there. We can tell you what the product yield will be. We should be able to tell you where that market is, and we can quantify to you what your return will be on that. Before we get there, we want to make sure that we absolutely have calculated what that market value is and present that to people. While that might sound all high-minded, people want to believe when they see. So again, we're like, people can come and check it out, and who knows what that inspiration will lead to. So yes, I just got back from the U.S. looking for investors. We're open to looking for more investors to what we have here. So there's several moving components to it.
So how can people get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, one thing is we're going to have to throw up a website, so I'm going to be talking to you about that.
All right,
Stephen.
yeah, because I was going to say, you got to have that website.
Yeah, and you guys can visit our page, Facebook page for now, the Heru.
Link that in this video.
All right, the Heru Farm de Bingawan. And just for the information of our audience, of course, and our viewers, we are already a Department of Tourism accredited.
Great.
So we got that accreditation just a month ago. 2 months ago, sorry.
Wonderful.
So that's a
Congratulations
good
on
start.
that, because
That's a good start.
those are the type of things people don't think about,
Yeah.
and that are really important to any kind of business. And if you already recognize, then you're on the map. So,
Yeah, and also we are also already Department of Agriculture. What you call this? We are already linked to Department of Agriculture since we are doing project from the Department of Agriculture. As we already mentioned before, we have this vermicomposting project, right? So those are PRDP, the Philippine Rural Development Project, funded by World Bank, with of course with what you call this partnership on the Philippine government.
My focus now is on whatever space that you in, being the most profound as you can be as a global citizen. If anything that we learned from the pandemic is if you only have one space to be in, you're shutting down your opportunities.
Yeah, yeah.
And certainly for the American audience, that's not the only thing that's there. There's other things that your skill sets can multiply even more so in other spaces if you're open. So I'm really on this track now where I'm looking at wherever space that I can be to exponentiate that space as a global citizen. I'm not just an American. I'm not just trying to be a Filipino. I am a human being that's having this expression that wants to experience the profoundness of what my highest possibility is, to have freedom based upon the way that I'm able to give and receive and change lives. And so wherever I am, that's the space that I'm leading from.
So we thank you to both of you for inviting us again, and we are wishing you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And for the investors, and for really cultivating the place, and to put your vision into reality.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely think you're on the right track.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much to you guys for
Thank you.
inviting us.
Thank you.
And we'll be sure to come back here. And you guys watching, if you're gonna be in Iloilo, we're gonna drop their Facebook page on this video. So better check their page out. And see you again.
Yeah. I think we could add them to our tour for the guys that have time. 'Cause
Right,
We've developed a tour of the
We
city,
developed a tour of
and
the
this will
city,
be like
but
a day, and we can come
Wow.
out and have lunch.
Let us
and-
know.
Yeah.
so guys, see you soon again
Yeah.
in another video. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Bye,
Thank you
guys.
guys. Thanks so much.
All right, man. That was great.
Thanks for watching Philippines in Full Effect. Please subscribe to our channel. And if you like our content, check out these others as well. Salamat po!